So good evening, everyone. It is a great moment to extend my warm wishes on behalf of Unique World Education. I want to convey my heartfelt gratitude to the NIT Calicut for accepting the invitation and presiding over this seminar on what after JEE. Indeed, this session will help students to understand more about JEE and the procedures after the joint entrance examination. So let me give you a brief description of the topic we are discussing today. First and foremost, what is JEE Main and Advanced? Why JOSSA registration process is important? Registration process for the counseling, choice filling, JOSSA mock allotment, document required for JOSSA admission, and etc. However, our panel of experts will further elaborate on the topic in a very simple way. And there will be a question and answer round where our students can clear their doubts in discussion with the speakers. So if you have any doubt in between the session, so you have a raised hand button, you can click on that and we will allow you to ask your doubt. Okay, so please follow all the rules and regulation because all of the students are familiar with that. And you can also use the chat box if you have any doubts. So today we have three energetic NIT students are with us, Sharon, Vinay, and Aditi. So thank you so much for joining with us, and over to Sharon. Sharon, you may please.
Am I audible? Can someone just confirm?
Yes, Sharon, you're audible.
Okay, firstly and foremost, thank you, Amin sir, for the wonderful introduction. Also, it's super glad to see all these students coming in for the session. I'm very happy, very excited to see a lot of you. It reminds me of some of my school days. I'm a student who studied in our own Sharjah, boys, and it's super nice to see a lot of people coming in for JEE coaching and all those things. And the culture is pretty strong. I'm really happy about how this turns out. Super excited as well. So a few things that I would like to urge all students to do is, it's just from my side. It's totally optional. Right. Just hello.
Just carry on, Sharon. Just carry on.
Yeah. So firstly, I would like encourage all of you guys to please put in take down notes on the side. It's always a good habit to take down the notes. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask us. Right? We have three people from our side, so definitely we'll attend to the questions. If not, towards the end we'll be attending it. Right? So feel free to put in all your questions, as Amin sir mentioned. Again, super excited, and we want to make the session as interactive as possible. So we will encourage all of you to maybe speak up, and if you have any sort of doubts, right? Remember this: when it comes to any sorts of doubts and everything, no doubt is dumb or stupid, right? Everything is it's an honest doubt. As we need to make sure that you have no constraints when coming to asking questions, right? So anyways, I won't keep this waiting for so long. Over to you, Vinay.
Yeah, okay. Let me just share my screen. Second. Can everybody see?
Yes.
Okay, so first we're gonna talk about like what is JEE. So JEE is like one of the most competitive engineering examinations to get into colleges, like which are mainly IITs, NITs are the main. Then there are triple ITs and other government colleges also come along with it. This year, actually, because of the corona situation, many of the entrance exams didn't take place. So because of that, some of those exams, like since they were canceled, they checked the board scores and the JEE main scores for the same. So yeah, that is basically the introduction of what is JEE. Aditi?
Yeah. So JEE Mains is the first round of exams for the JEE entire process of getting into IITs, NITs, or any these colleges that you might get into. So only those who have passed the class 12th examination, any such examination 2 years before the JEE can write this exam. It consists of mathematics, physics, and chemistry. It has multiple choice questions in these three subjects. And there is a minimum cutoff percentile for JEE mains that will allow the selected students to write JEE advanced. Now, the percentile isn't set and it will change year after year. So yeah, so whoever qualifies will be allowed to write JEE advanced. JEE mains helps you to get into NITs. Your JEE main score is considered for NITs and not for IITs. It's not compulsory that after, even if you have qualified main, you need to qualify JEE mains to get sorted into colleges. The qualification, the cutoff percentile for JEE mains is only for JEE advanced. Yeah, and IITs only consider JEE advanced for their admission process. Vinay?
Vinay, you're on mute.
Vinay.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear? So JEE Advance is basically like the second round of the whole JEE examination, and like JEE Advance selects the top from the 90 percentile students onwards for JEE Advance. So basically, like usually around probably 10 lakh to 12 lakh people write JEE mains. From that, around probably 1,50,000 people get selected for this. So this exam also like covers the same syllabus, physics, chemistry, maths, but the thing is the question patterns and everything are different. Like there are for the mains, while there's like just MCQ, and last year onwards there was numerical based questions also instead of that, like 5 numerical questions also. But for the advanced, everything comes into it. Like there's MCQs, there's integer type, there is comprehensive, so many different types. So, but we'll be more talking about what happens after the JEE Advanced takes place right now. So let's get more into that. Second. One second, I'm not able to.
Okay, while Vinay is getting this sorted, I will continue with why exactly is JOSSA important. Now, you cannot go into IITs or NITs just by any independent source. You need to participate in the JOSSA counseling. Now, it all comes down to this: your JEE main, your JEE advanced, whether you want to get into IIT, NIT, triple ITs, like a certain amount of triple ITs are there for JOSSA. But yeah, you need to go through JOSSA counseling for this. And it can be a bit daunting because there is a mock seat allotment and there are a lot of colleges, but you need to make sure that you get everything straight. And it's finally, after all your exams, this is the one place which actually gets you sorted, and any mistake over here would mean that there's no way you can come back from it, and your entire year might be wasted. So you need to make sure you approach this entire process very carefully. And yeah, so Vinay, if you could move on to the next slide.
Yeah. Okay, there's some problem with mine actually. Could you share your screen if possible? It's not working. Okay, so the whole JOSSA registration process starts from, like, first we need to register for it. We need to sign up. So like we have to fill in our username and password and all, and that we'll discuss further on the next few slides. And then comes the choice filling and locking of choices. So that basically is you fill like the college preferences you have and the branch preferences you fill there. And then mock seat allotment happens before the original allotment takes place, and then announcement of seat allotment results. And after, if you get a seat, then you do the payment. And after that, you have to report at your centers, and then there will be a confirmation from the institute. We'll get into each in detail in the next slide onwards. Okay.
Okay. Now, when you're registering for counseling, first you'll have to register for the counseling thing. You need to use your roll numbers, which you had used while giving your JEE mains and advanced. If you have cleared your JEE mains, then you'll have to use your JEE advanced roll numbers. And you don't need to fill a lot of details, but when you go forward in the registration process, you will be asked. Vinay, could you move on to the next slide? Vinay?
Yeah, 1 second, it's not working.
Okay, I'll share my screen.
Yeah, I think that's better.
Okay.
I can share.
Is my screen sharing?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you need to just use your roll numbers. Using for your JEE main, you just use your JEE main roll number if you've qualified for advanced, and you gave your advanced, you can use your JEE advanced roll numbers. You will have to update your contact details when you go forward in the registration process, and update your password. But it's sort of the basic process that you followed while registering for your JEE mains, but not that complicated. Now, Vinay will be covering choice filling.
Yeah, so in choice filling, basically, like if you have just cleared your JEE mains right now, then you can fill in the NITs. There's triple ITs also, but this like triple ITs, there's many different types. Like there's Indian Institute and International Institute. So JOSSA registration basically covers the Indian Institute part of it only. The international, you have to go to their own page and do it. So yeah, after that, you choose your like whichever college and branch preferences you have. Generally, the order of like for engineering, standard order is CSE first, and then EC, and then triple E, like that. Unless like that's the general order, but if you have any particular interest, go for that. But like people usually select this because like the placements are usually the percentage of placements is very high in all these three branches. So that's why this is most preferred. So basically you can, after you select all the choices you have, like you choose the branch and the college, and you can arrange it in the order you like, and then you can save your choices. Over here, the thing is like, you have to like make sure you do it properly, because for one of my, for instance, for one of my friends in my college, he actually had gotten IIT Bombay from, like he had the mark for that, but when he put the order for the registration, he put the correct order, and then somehow I think his brother or somebody accidentally changed the order slightly, and that affected his whole thing. So right now NIT Calicut came in the top reference list instead of IIT. So like that, small changes could decide which college you get into ultimately. So just always make sure whichever you're doing correctly. Yeah, so next slide.
Okay. I'll just add on a bit to it. Okay, when you're doing your choice filling, just make sure like it's you're very organized while doing it. For instance, if you want to, depends on what your priorities are. If you want to go out for a master's, or if you want to, or in a very research oriented field, or if you want to sit for placements. And for instance, would you rather have like a lower branch in an IIT, or like a higher, say, computer science in an NIT? Which one's best for your placements? And make sure you fill in the choices very carefully according to that, because you will be able to change it in the mock seat allotment, which we will cover going forward. But yeah, just once it's done, but just be very organized while doing this and consider previous year's cutoff percentage. That's a very important factor. Consider previous year's cutoff ranks for whichever branches or colleges you are most inclined to, and then make sure you fill your choices according to that. Moving on, now your choice locking. Okay, once you're done selecting your choices, you can choose I agree to lock my choices, or you can lock your choices later. And make sure you lock your choice before the last day of choice filling. Okay, take a printout of your preference using your roll number, password. This list will be required when you report to your respective college, and thankfully this seat allotment will be conducted online. And yeah. Vinay?
Actually, earlier, like when I told about the registration, when you give your put your username and password and all, don't give it to others, because in case it gets shared and somebody can actually just change the order if they like to in between. So just make sure of that. Okay, so moving on. Right now, JOSSA mock allotment. So that's basically before the actual allotment takes place. There are 6 rounds. So before that, you have a chance to know where you're with your rank, what you can get. So you will have a basic idea, and then you can this is used to so that you can change your priority list after this. After JOSSA mock allotment till the first round, you can change the order. Earlier, if you put some IIT Bombay under that and IIT Madras, you can change that and put IIT Madras on the top, so that you'll find out whichever you have a higher chance of getting from this. But you can't be exactly accurate. I said, a lot of changes can happen in the coming rounds, because some people might accept some other college and then a vacant seat will open like that. So there's a chance for the mock allotment doesn't rely on your final. Okay, next page.
Okay. So yeah, you will have seat allotments. There will be 6 rounds of seat allotments, and for every round you will be given an option, that is freeze, slide, and float. And now I'll be covering a freeze, slide, and float. Okay. Now freeze option says that if in that round, if you have you've been allotted a seat after mock allotment and everything, now the actual allotment has started and you've gotten a seat, and if you want it and you want that seat in that college, you will freeze that option and that seat is yours. However, in your preference, if suppose you have gotten preference number 5 and you're not that happy with your seat and you would be open to getting a higher seat, a higher preference, say you've gotten IIT Bombay, you've gotten engineering physics, but you want computer science and it is higher. So you will in IIT Madras, whatever. So the point is that you want a higher priority branch at that college, then you should give float. But if the candidate has a slide, option will be used if the candidate has accepted the allotted seat, but looking for a better college and better branch, then the candidate should give slide. Now, the difference between float and slide is that float applies for the same college. Like I said, if you have gotten engineering physics in IIT Bombay, but you want computer science in IIT Bombay, you can use float. In that same college, you'll be allotted a branch. Now, slide is used when you're looking for a better branch and a better college. That is your higher preference. And this is given by your preference order. This is where your preference order really comes into play. Now, if you, Vinay will be covering that ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the coming rounds, if you need to if you want to change your order after the first round, you have to go to the reporting center and tell which you want, like freeze or float or slide. But after that, in the coming round, in the second round or third round, you want to change your from freeze, float, and if you put freeze in the first round, and after that you feel like you want to do slide later. I mean, not freeze. Yeah. So in the coming round, you can change your yeah, next slide.
Yeah. Okay. So your special round allotment. After your first 6 rounds are done, this special round allotment takes place. For this round, you need to pay a fees of 35,000 in it to participate in it. In this round, if there's a vacant seat vacant seat in a branch or college, which you've given higher preference to, then you will get a seat in that college. That is if there is a vacant seat. And in this round, you will be able to change your preference order again. And it's the final round, but there's no confirmation. But if there is one available, if you have a higher preference where a seat is available, you will get it. Yeah. Payment. Vinay?
For payment, like if you get a seat, like if you accept a seat in a particular college, then the fees will come to approximately 35,000, which will go to JOSSA. So this can be paid through the e-challan or SBI net banking. And now for the special round, actually you have to pay another 35,000 to participate in that. But the thing is, like if you don't get a seat from that, the whole 35,000 will be refunded to you. And if you get a seat in that, then the 35,000 will be added along with the tuition fees for that college. So you don't need to pay so basically you don't get any loss from that.
Okay. Reporting centers. Yeah. So the candidates who have been allotted seats will have to report at the assigned reporting centers for the verification of documents. You'll have to carry all the original mark sheets, and we will cover what documents we have to cover in the next slide. But yeah, you will have to carry all these documents for the time of verifications. You need to make sure you have the original documents, and when you're going to the center, make sure you have like a hard copy of all the hard copy, obviously the original document, and a Xerox copy of it, just in case you need it, because these things can get long and it's better to have one copy with you. Vinay?
Yeah, so when you go to a IIT, or for the reporting centers, after each round when you go, you have to carry certain documents with you. Like right now, the seat allotment letter, for example, like the seat that you got accepted in, you have to show that letter when you go to the reporting center. Then you have to take 2 passport size photos and the candidate undertaking. That means the candidate proof of who you are. So that's what you show. And any identity card which is present, you have to take that. And then your JEE advanced admit card for when you go to the IITs, and the fee payment challan. Then there's the birth for like date of birth proof. You can either choose the 10th grade mark sheet, or you can take your birth certificate. Either are accepted. Then similarly, you need your class 12th mark sheet and pass certificate. Next, please. There's a few more. Yeah, so now you have to take your medical certificate. This is basically like a fitness certificate. So you just go to the nearby hospital and just get a checkup, and the doctor will know what to do to get the whole information. So that's there. And then if you there's many quotas coming, like SC, ST, PWD and all. So for those, you need to carry those category certificates and all. And now if you're like from right now for Dubai students and all, you need to be carrying your foreign passport and also, and then the DS certificate comes, and then after that finally is the lock choices for seat allotment, like the earlier one which we told you to print out after you chose your seat preference and the choice preference which you've locked. So that's what that's for.
Okay. The things that you need to keep in mind is that do not share your JOSSA username and password. Yeah, this is mandatory, because if any one of your friends or anyone has that password, they can mess with your preference and you might just miss out on your seat. Be careful while filling in the details. Yeah, do not be very careful while filling any of these forms. Just be careful that everything is right and there's no inconsistency, whether in your middle name, last name, or whether in your addresses, and just make sure everything is consistent. And yeah, be updated. Keep checking the JOSSA site for any updates for your, especially during your 6 rounds. Which seats have been allotted to you? What round is it? What are your options? And yeah, keep ready. And do you have any questions?
Right. Just before we move on to some question, can I just add on to the whole thing, right? Just my insight, right? Vinay and Aditi, both of them are from India, right? Me coming in from the Dubai, I've had few some difficulties and some things that I faced at my early point of time when I had to make the shift. Now, even though I was in Dubai, I got it through the JEE quota, right? JOSSA admission, and was in the DASA quota. Now, surprisingly, a few things that really surprised me in the top aspect was this whole allotment procedure, right? I haven't gone to any coaching institutes or anything, so it was I was a lone wolf in the whole process. So I would say, firstly, I would encourage, like, if I mean, I hope from from the instructions that I've received, some of the parents are also watching this, right? If the parents can be a little more deeply involved with the registration process, signing up for the examinations and stuff like that, just a little pointer from my side. Why? Because towards the last leg of the JEE main preparation, right, your last final month and everything, you know, usually the students will be doing a lot of mock tests and everything, and they'll be having a little more of time that they need to invest for the revisions and everything, and it will be really hard sometimes. From my understanding, usually all the JEE main websites, the counseling websites, and for that matter, the even our college websites and everything has the worst possible user interface possible. I've been very honest with that. There's a lot of aspects, like a lot of information that might be easily misinterpreted, right? You need to be very careful and vigilant about how to go about these things, because as mentioned by both Vinay and Aditi, these can affect your chances by magnitudes, right? So when I first applied for NIT Trichy computer science. That was my first option, and NIT Thanikkal computer science, and followed by that, I had given in um, this thing, both the same institutes, that is NIT Trichy and NIT Thanikkal, as for electrical. Now, these were my first four options, right? First four options, these were the first four options. And the fifth option that I wanted to give it was like this. Initially, when I was just playing around with the whole thing, this was the option that I put in, right? But the thing is, I wasn't very well aware of the fact that you need to keep a look at the trends for the past, right? Do a lot of read up on these, all these colleges and how the trends are. Usually, you can easily go over to Google, or maybe, if you can, being students of unique world education, I mean, I suppose that if you can ask one of the branch managers or something, they'll be able to provide you the right resources in order to do that. It's a very crucial aspect. Why? Because it helps you take clever decisions, right? At that point of time, I thought that, okay, with my marks, I was super happy, right? Not going to coaching, crack the J mains, I was all over the world. And as I mentioned, I was in this whole process. My parents didn't have a very good idea about it. So it was more of a trial and error from my side. But it was only I had a really good friend of mine who was a little versed in this whole aspect, and he said that, hey, Eda, first you go for this thing, right? Instead of give NIT Calicut, because you're clearly in the safe zone for that. At least if it comes within the at least three choices, the first three choices, right? You don't. It's always good to aim for like really high stuff, right? It's always worth a shot. Maybe towards the end of it, you will get. There have been instances, but I would say don't risk it too much, because these things, they keep fluctuating a lot, right? They keep fluctuating by big margins. So don't keep doing that, right? And another point I would like to give is, as NRIs, right? One crucial aspect is, in all these websites, try possibly contacting the, maybe sending in a mail, or always staying in contact with the JOSA or DASA committees, right? At my point of time, there was the DASA committee and the JOSA committee. I was applying through both. Now, one crucial aspect over here is we need to always make sure that, why? Because the communication aspect needs to be through and through. There might be times when they don't pick up your calls, they don't respond to your mails. and everything, but we need to stay persistent at it to get in the maximum quality information, because as mentioned towards the end, all the little things that you put in, like because on the first day of the counseling process, right, you'll have to go in for a document verification, and it will be a long process, right? You will be, parents aren't allowed in the process as they'll be staying outside, and all the students will be carrying out with the process. So once that process is happening, right, they these people will scrutinize everything. Like they'll go through each and every single detail. They'll scrutinize even the most tiniest bits of information, and if they see any sort of discrepancies, they'll make you run around alone. So I just urge everyone to at least always have multiple number of copies, right? A solid rule that I used to keep is if they say two passport size copies, I used to take two times the required number. I always used to keep it in my hand. Let's say passports, birth certificate copy, mark sheet copy, everything into two. Then this was for every examination that I attended. I also wrote the KEAM examination, the SAT, BITSAT. So for all examination, also the SAT examination, for all the examinations and all the counseling process, this is the general thumb. Always keep maximum number of copies, and also it is a really good thing to segment them in different files, right? Always having different files, like one file for my NIT application, one file for my CUSAT application, one file for BITSAT application, because the process can be very strenuous. I remember walking into the NIT campus in the morning at around 8 a.m. and I got the whole process was complete at around 3 p.m. in the afternoon, right? And your parents won't be there to help you, so you need to take up charge and you need to deal and make sure that you have multiple number of copies in case you will be needing to. Otherwise, sure enough, there'll be photocopy centers. There'll be for areas where you can take in photographs, studios, and everything. But leaving everything to the last minute can just drive you nuts. Right? It will make you absolutely crazy, and you can't think straight in the whole process, right? So it's always advisable to keep such things ready. And also, another thing I would like to advise all of you to is right, when coming into the application process, right, I would encourage all of you folks to go to India at least 1 month in prior, right? 1 month in prior to India. Now, why? Because so initially I didn't have an Aadhaar card, right? And an Aadhaar card is a crucial aspect because when you will be entering the college, you will be needing to making a bank account. Now, for all the bank accounts, you will be required to submit an address proof and various kind of proofs. And like we have the Emirates ID in Dubai, it's pretty synonymous, right? Aadhaar card is the synonymous aspect when it comes to students in India, right? And as I said, right, a lot of these websites and everything, right? I remember the time I registered in 2018, right? I'm a 2018 batch. So at that point of time, like the situation with NRIs and Aadhaar card was kind of skeptical, right? It was not very sure because in the radio and everything, they say that, Aadhaar card isn't necessary for NRIs. But nevertheless, many NRIs have taken it. But, I wasn't one of them. So I had to run through a lot of troubles to obtain an NRI card because, I didn't have a ration card. And, when you go back searching for address proofs, I just had a huge number of issues that I had to unravel right before the process. And I was just thinking, one thing that I really appreciate, because after all the entrance exams, I wanted to spend some time with my friends and everything. I asked my parents if we could stay in more, but it was only because they told that I came in 1 month prior to the whole process. So if you have such you never know, right? Such issues. It's always nice to be on the safe side to very well sort out the issues beforehand, right? There's always solutions to things, but when it comes to India, the major aspect when compared to Dubai, the major huge crucial aspect is you need to do a lot of running around this, right? So it's not very straight face convenience aspect of it, right? You need to even a simple process as obtaining an Aadhaar card. Sometimes you need to go through one Akshaya. One Akshaya will tell you. One Akshaya center will give you one instruction. Then you go to another Akshaya, they'll give you another instruction, and things will be very, very, very messed up, right? At least from my personal experience. I just wanted to share because all of you might go through such instances in the future. So initially, when I had to make an Aadhaar card, I submitted my passport copy, and there were Akshaya centers that told me that the passport copy won't serve as an equivalent to obtaining the Aadhaar card. I mean, a passport copy is the ultimate thing that you can provide, but I've had instances where people telling me that no, this is not exactly the thing we are looking for. And you could say there will be slight areas of ignorance at various aspects of the Indian society. So please be ready to deal with all such things, right? And just that, generally try being, if I was to just wrap up this whole thing, right? One thing is always try reading a lot, right? Well, I would advise, again, it's not something I would just leave to the students. I would also urge all parents, right, to read a lot about the colleges that they're going for, right? Be it any college, right? Each college has certain branches that are really out there, and some colleges maybe not so much. So do a lot of reading. There's a lot of resources on the internet. There's no shortage of that. Now, why I'm advising the parents to do so is because your ward or your child might not be in the best format to process all this information at that point of time. So that is why my parents, 1 month prior to the whole thing, they had written all this information. We had this one small notebook where we take down all the usernames for various websites. We used to take down all the passwords for various websites. And just keep a note of, okay, we need so and so documents, so and so, so and so, so and so things. I didn't have to worry about all those things. And I really thank my parents for that, because if I was to do the whole process at that point of time, I'm sure I would have screwed up much worse, right? We ran into troubles. It's not that we didn't run into troubles, but definitely for sure, I can say having a person, who is just a little more clearer in mind will always help. My second point would be always overestimate and come in, like be early and be, overestimated, in this whole process. Like for the process, if they say, let's say they give you a date, let's say towards the end of July, July 31st, right? I would advise you to come to the campus 2 to 3 days prior to that, right? Make arrangements for that, right? A lot of issues that can happen is when it comes to housing, right? Now these are real issues that I face. So when I had come into Calicut, I'm a student from, I stay in Kotak, and we have no, like, I have no connections and relations of any sort in Calicut. So when I had come into Calicut, I had to figure out the whole, where to stay. And in fact, the first night we stayed in this one apartment where the washrooms were improper. And, at least in NITC campus, we had guest houses, but all of them were booked. And I've also seen students, who couldn't get accommodation nearby because these areas would be completely full. You need to imagine the number of students coming in from various parts of India just for this, right? They might have all the bookings and everything will be done way before. So, even in the surrounding area, right? Hotels in the surrounding area or booked lodges, in fact, right? Forget hotels, even simple lodges are completely packed. So, lucky for us, we were able to find find some way to get that, an accommodation in the right time. But this is one area which I urge all of you people to look into, right? When you're going to a campus, always keep this thing, right? Come in at least 3-4 days earlier, make arrangements for the very same, plan out your journey, right? How will you be going? Are you going by a train? Are you going by this thing? Right? Don't leave things to the last minute, because trust me, when it comes to this thing, it will be very troublesome, right? And getting through college authorities and everything is a huge task. So I would urge all of you folks to really look into these things. These are few pointers from my side, from an student and an NRI student perspective. Yeah, as mentioned earlier, right? If you have any queries and everything, we'll be ready to take them on.
Okay, I would like to add on a couple of points, mostly on the choice filling. Okay, now when you're doing your choice filling, just don't be very limited. Like, even if you have a pretty high rank, that doesn't mean you just select the college that you want. There's a reason why you have you can input like around more than 100 colleges when you're going for seat allocation, and you can select a lot of colleges. Just do not limit yourself, because the point over here is getting a college, because you don't want to be too optimistic and opt for something and then do not get sorted at all. So don't be like, I have a pretty good rank, so I'm just gonna opt for IIT Bombay CSE and then that's it. Just don't do that. Be optimistic, just not too optimistic about it. Let me just give you an anecdote by my friend. Yeah, so when you're sorting your choices, right, make sure to account for the colleges and the branches that you actually want to attend. For instance, most people, what they do is they go by cutoffs. Like you have IIT Bombay CSE first, IIT Madras CSE, you have the top IITs, then you go for the NITs and so on. Now, what happened with my friend is he selected. He had put NIT, VNIT Nagpur, Mechanical, NIT, Calicut, EP, and so on, so on. Now, they got sorted into NIT Mechanical, because depending on their, and they were pretty happy with it, but they still selected float. But however, in the next allotment, because he had selected float, he got allotted into NIT Calicut for engineering physics, which they weren't really too enthusiastic about. And the thing is, once you've gotten allotted to a higher preference, in the next round, you cannot be given a lower college. Like if you've been allotted to a third preference, your third preference, you cannot go back to your fourth preference. So it's just above that. And just be very particular when you're filling this out, because you cannot change it in those first 6 rounds. You can change it in your special allotment, but you'll have to pay another 35 grand for it, which is a lot of money, just because you missed out on something. So this is one thing you need to take in consideration. And if you're selecting an IIT and NIT, just make sure you have direction. For instance, I wanted to do something in research, and I wanted a very research-oriented branch. So I went for NIT. I opted for IIT Bombay, engineering physics, IIT Madras, engineering physics, and so on. Now over here, if you want to go for masters or research-oriented, you can take lower branches in IITs also fine. If you suppose you're not getting that good of a branch in IIT, but you're getting a really good branch, say you're getting NIT CS, you're getting in NIT Warangal, you're getting computer science, but in IIT Madras, you're getting textile engineering or something. Now, if you want to sit for placements, obviously going in NIT Warangal for computer science would definitely be better than taking textile engineering in IIT. However, if you want to say go into research into something, the tag IITian does have a lot of weightage. Believe it or not, being an IITian is very much different than being an NITian. And if it's a tag that you want, and that thing that's going to be reflected everywhere is that you came from IIT Madras or so, go for it. And just make sure your preferences are lined up like that and not necessarily in order of your cutoff. So yeah, just be very careful in this entire process, because you do not want to mess it up. And do not rely too much on your mock seat allocation. But it gives you a very good estimate. For instance, for my mock seat allocation, I had given like 4 branches, because I honestly didn't know much about this. I had given 4 branches, and then I did not get selected into any. I didn't get allotted at all in my mock seat, which was very terrifying. But that's what it gives you an idea of how this entire process will go through. And do your research very well. Now, and make sure you select whatever your caste, your PWD, whatever it is, just make sure you have your cutoffs right and follow past trends. And according to that, just organize yourself very well and speak to your parents about this. Because what you may feel is the right direction for you, sometimes your parents, discussing it with your parents is a very good option. And yeah, just have a very organized view towards all of this. Do not do everything in a hurry. These processes, especially government processes, take a lot of time. The JOSSA counseling process, like once you go inside, it takes hours to complete. It literally takes hours to complete. And if then they find a fault in any of the documents you have to run around a lot. You need to, it's because there are a lot of candidates over there, and it's a very confusing process. So make sure you have everything out clear, everything's organized, and then you approach it. And Vinay, do you have something to add on?
So adding on, for like example, in my case, I had to choose between VIT Vellore and NIT Calicut in my case. So I was really confused at that time because when I checked the NERF ranking, like that's what the whole ranking in India. So in that, the VIT had a higher rank than BITS and all NITs at the time, also NITs. But the thing is, VIT, like since it's a private college, all this infrastructure and all comes into this NERF ranking. So instead of like, I kind of regret looking at that in that. So it's better to ask your like friends who are in college who have experience, or like do more research online. Like in the net ranking, for example, they only tell the college. Like right now, in a particular college, there will be a particular branch which is really good, rather than the whole college being good. So just check research on that. Like for example, IIT Bombay CS is really good, and probably IIT Madras, some other branch is really good. So just research on all that so that put your order accordingly to that. So that's all I have to add. So like they said, just organize everything properly, and yeah. So if you have any questions.
The small suggestion on what Vinay said, right? Now, the resource, like even I was super confused on which branch to choose over which. And one of the biggest sources that I used was Quora. Now, in Quora, there will be a lot of people who must have gone through similar situations. They might have said, okay, let's take NIT Warangal. So I got NIT Warangal so and so branch. I also got an NIT Calicut so and so branch. I got an NIT Trichy for so and so branch. Which do I go for? Now a lot of good answers can be coming. You can find a lot of good answers from there, and you get to know in general, right? If you type in, let's say, how is computer science in so and so college, right? How is a new branch? Let's say last year we had introduced in our campus material science engineering. So how is material science engineering in NIT Calicut, right? You see a new branch, right? So something of that sort. Like it applies to all colleges. One of the person things that I used to do a lot of judgments was Quora, right? It helped me by great amounts. So again, also in general, if you can ask people if you have relatives, friends who are part of so and so colleges, right? Generally, if I remember following my first year, a lot of my friends they texted me they're saying that, hey, I have this junior of mine, could you guide them through the whole process and everything and such, because honestly it gets confusing, right? And it's always nice to ask help rather than messing it up and then really losing out on the opportunity later on. So always think at least 10 times before you make your decisions, right? And it's because while you have the option, a lot of one of the most popular misconception I've seen is like, okay, you kind of settle for a branch. Let's say you want to go to IIT, as Aditi mentioned, let's say textile engineering or something, and you want to opt for a branch change in your first year. Those things are very highly unlikely, because I'll be very honest with you, right? I'm being very candid with you, right? Even when I took an electrical engineering, I was like, okay, because you have that mind, you'll be like, okay, so I can pull this off. I mean, I just got to study hard, and I can really make it. But you need to understand that you're going into college that's going to be more competitive than anything that you're seeing. If you're a topper in your school, you will be nowhere in it, in one of the NITs or IITs. It's just a possibility, right? And you need to be ready to face that. So depending on such things, right? And for a branch change, there are a lot of rules which vary from colleges to colleges, right? And even then, I would say that you need to be in the top 1 percentile of your branch, right? Just to give you an idea, out of a 10, uh, all colleges follow a 10 GPA system. We have a CGPA system. Out of a 10-point scale, you need to score 9 plus in a college that is filled with people who have worked equally harder to you, maybe smarter than you, or who have more ranks than you. It's nothing to get discouraged by, but I would say don't rely on this, because I've seen a lot of my friends, they'll be like, hey, I'll give this, because it's easy to, you feel elated to a certain extent. Like, you say that, hey, I got IIT Bombay, right? The tag is there. If I just study hard this year, right, I can certainly make it into CSE. It's not going to be super easy. And if it was super easy, they wouldn't have opened up in the first place. So just keep that in mind, right? There's a problem misconception I've seen with a lot of my peers, my students I've seen, and juniors that I have helped in the whole process of making into one of the NITs or the IITs. Right. Again, I'm sorry if I'm taking up a lot of time. We'll be open to questions. If any.
I think a hand is raised by Shreyas.
Good afternoon, all. Actually, I am Shreyas' father.
Oh.
So first of all, I have those who are into NIT. They are currently, first year, second year. I have not heard the entire discussion, but to be very frank, I'm congratulating in advance for their future, no doubt about it. And thanks a lot. This is really very valuable information. Almost 20 minutes, not more than like since 20 minutes I'm here. And absolutely, it's inspiring speech from you young people, and I'm also learning a lot. To be very frank, okay. So I just have one question actually in terms of college categorizations. Like, yeah, because there are a lot of criteria we always used to, talk about it. Means like it's our limitations also. We need to go with the areas, location, and a lot of things also there when we select the college. But in terms of NIT, selecting an NIT college, normally we used to deprioritize our these things because it's not like how do you classify the college in terms of which criteria? Is it like area wise, location wise? Location wise is another call, but like placement wise, or how do you categorize or how do you prioritize NIT colleges? That is my question.
I would say you can. Okay. I would say like mainly because the rank first of all comes from infrastructure is there, and then all those are there, but mainly like faculty and placements. Like placements is one of the major things we have to look, and faculty, because like we have to make like during these 4 years we have to understand all the concepts what they're teaching clearly. So for that, the best, I mean, if we get the best faculty, it will be the best. And for similarly placements, like whichever has the best package and all, and like some colleges have 100% placement for CSE. So that all should be your number one criteria, I would say.
I agree.
So,
It's a very difficult question, and I understand it's not a straightforward question, but I do agree. Let's put it in another way. The way you have selected the colleges, put it in another way. On what basis, one by one, maybe like how many people are, how many NITs are here? I really don't have, sorry for that. But how, on what basis you selected yourself, like I should be preferring this college? On what basis? Put it in this way.
Okay.
Aditi, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I think
So-
we'll go around, like, we'll
Yeah.
share each and every one of our perspectives on, how
Yeah,
to
of course.
deal with it.
Personally for me, my criteria was engineering physics, my branch. It is only available in one NIT. So my thing was pretty straightforward. But before I was considering EP, my preference was computer science because I wanted to, if not EP, then it was computer science because it's one of the hottest branches. If you see in all IITs, NITs, computer science gets the highest. It has the highest placements. It gets the best companies, and it's a very forward-moving industry. There are continuously many it's a very futuristic kind of a branch. There's always scope for new things, and I think that was my main criteria. So then in that you look at placements, you look at the kind of the sources, the company, the training and placement of the college, the kind of resources. That means the let's say the faculty. Again, the major thing over here is the resources that are provided to the students, the internship opportunities, the the kind of infrastructure that's there, especially your technical labs and all of that. So that was my preference. So you had NIT Trichy, Warangal, and these NITs, which are the top because they provide the best resources for your candidate to get the best placement. Yeah. Vinay?
From your point of view, suppose if you get, let's suppose there are branch available. Correct me if I'm wrong. Also, you are all young and absolutely you are more brilliant than me. I am considering that.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
My question to you: suppose if you have electronics and telecommunication in Warangal, and if you have computer science in Nagpur, which will you prefer?
Okay, so like I just say that. Okay, so firstly, I would say, okay, so uh, there are, in my experience, especially with NRI students, there are two kinds of people, right? Now there are the people who have a passion, like very strongly. They are like fixated on, yes, this is what I wanted to do from at a very early stage, right? That's number one type of people. Number two, the kind of people who just go with the flow. I was one among these people, right? Because my friends are writing the SAT examinations, the JEE examinations, and I just went along. I started studying. It's only solely because of peer pressure. Now I'll deal with both the categories. So in the first category, now if you're fixated on a branch, right? Definitely have gone through a research process for this thing. So again, in the context of your question, sir. So between electronics and telecommunication versus computer science, you definitely should have a slight more inclination towards one thing, right? So I would say that should be your top priority, because if chosen otherwise, right? If you go with the brand value over there, rather than the branch that you want, right? You will regret the 4 years of college, because it's going to be very, very, very troublesome for you to keep up with it, right? I've seen a lot of students. I can popularly tell this with architecture. Now, architecture is something. When you take architecture, you need to have. It's not just the skill, but you need to be willing to put in all those sleepless hours into doing such things. And I've seen numerous students who at a very early stage they say, hey, I'm good at, I can draw, I can paint. That shouldn't be the criteria for getting into architecture. You need to be sure of, if you're really sure that yes, you have done your research for this branch, please always give priority to the branch over the brand. Branch over brand if you're fixated at the earliest. Now that is the first category where yes, okay, this is what I want to go for. If you're fixated on it, if you're confident of it, let's say even if things don't work out in the future, you can be confident that you won't regret your decision because it's something that you took. You'll be happy with it. So that would be my advice on that. Now, number two is the category where I fall personally. Where you are clueless about which branch to take, right? You're just writing the examination because everyone's writing it. So this is the category I felt. So now what I did in this whole process was uh, I looked for branches that could give me possibilities to move, like expand my avenue, right? I'm an electrical engineering student, right? So my first, obviously because as Aditi mentioned earlier, my first inclination, because everyone was going for CSE, my thing was okay, let's also go for CSE. Let's go, but it isn't as easy as we say, right? Because CSE definitely will have high placements and everything, 100% placements and everything. Usually it's very the demand will keep soaring. Now that was my, because I had that, because of that demand of the whole thing, my tendency was to go for that. But as mentioned earlier, when you think in a realistic point of view, right? You need to think, okay, so how likely is it that I'm going to get CSE? So I was with my ranks and everything. I was like, okay, it might be a little risk. So I said, okay, well, what would be giving me the best position, to expand my avenue in the future, right? So that was my next question. So that is when I decided, okay, if not for CSE, let's go for one of the circuit branches. Now, circuit branches, why? Because a lot of, like, with a little bit of research that I've done during that point of time, and now I'm actually witnessing it. A lot of these institutions, for both internships, right? Our internship drive starts when you're in the third year, and your placement starts when you're in fourth year. Now, for both of these things, a lot of companies, what they have is the basic criteria that they keep in is number one, if you're a part of any one of the circuit branches, you can sit in for the company. Now, to give you a perspective of that, during our first initial this thing of placements, right? Our placements I mean, our internship drive is still ongoing, right? So during the earliest process of it, like the first company to visit us was Goldman Sachs, the investment bank. Now, when Goldman Sachs came in, they said that they are willing to take in all branches, right? They have opened up to all branches for a technical analyst role. Now, you shift the perspective, right? I think following this month, by this month end, we'll have Microsoft coming in for the internship drive. Now, Microsoft, on the other hand, the roles change and they only take in circuit branches, right? They'll only open up to circuit branches. I could say numerous examples of that sort. There are other big tech companies that that open up to all branches, but there are some companies that will always restrict you to circuit branches. So I was like, okay, so if I'm not getting into CSE, I might as well as go into something that where I have a chance to get into such companies in the end, because that's the end goal that is same for all of us. So this was the logic that I went.
No, I understand. I understand. Sorry to interrupt you. I understand your point of view exactly, irrespective. But normally, what is my concern, or what everybody or what she might be thinking, like the computer branch is the criteria by means of which she can focus, and after that, it will go like the college will be the next criteria. But there are some scenarios when you talk about the NIT. This is my point of view. May be wrong. I'm telling you. I'm learning from you. So my point of view, like in third year, normally example of Microsoft, even the electrical or any branches, the Microsoft used to come and they used to take it, and there the entire, I want to say, even though he's from electrical or chemical, the entire future has changed to software. There are a lot of examples I have seen that, because Microsoft comes into the placement and he took that particular the students, and his career goes to software or analyst or whatever. What I meant to say that, like, can we categorize or can we classify our selection on the basis of doing research on the placement category or the branches? That was my question straight away.
Okay, placement category or branches, right? So exactly, sir.
Sorry. I just want to interrupt you once again. Suppose if you have big colleges, and of course it depends on how you scores. Okay, that's another. That's a measurably. That is the main. I mean to say, unless and until you score, you cannot. Keeping in mind that all the 10 students have scored in the same level. Now, what should be their criteria? Now, if we do some R&D research, like, okay, these colleges had got more placements. Placements means people are coming at placements in the sense the good companies are coming to these colleges and then taking all the students. Okay. So irrespective, even though if it's not computer science, he can go to electronics and telecommunication. He can
definitely.
He can go to it. Anyway, electronics and telecommunication, again, it will go back to computer science, maybe VLSI chip designing or whatever. You got my point. So, so it depends what your school is, what your the companies are targeting. So that should be the criteria, or branch should be the criteria. That was my very important question. But anyway, thanks a lot for your guidance from all of you. And if you have any, if you have any, another thought or opinion, please let us know. Okay.
Yeah. So again, branch versus placements is actually a very daunting question for a lot of people to ask. I think, sir, how do I put this? For a lot of people, even in placements, right? So I work with this club called the Industrial Planning Forum, right? And our primary thing is to help students with placements. Now, what I would say is, as long as with the things that are headed right now, I've seen a lot of students shift their perspectives even after they come to college. So you really can't be sure, because I hope there was some kind of systems where the students are a little aware of what they are getting into. I mean, it's always been the case. When you're in 10th, you think of science as the ultimate thing. Yeah, so a lot of things happen. But then when you go over there, it's not exactly what you think of. The jump between 10th and 11th is massive, right? So similarly, I would say the jump from 12th to college in any branch, it can vary in tremendous amounts for various people. right? I've seen numerous smart people dropping out, numerous people who haven't scored huge things, really making steadfast progress in this. So really, the future of it, of what you choose to go is not a lot. I can't really put it in a framework or a guideline per se. But I would say that looking back, you shouldn't regret the choice you made. That would be the first priority, be it branches or be it placements. You can always look back to that one point in your time and say that, okay, I chose this because of this, and whatever happens is it's up to fate. But what I did at that point of time, I was really sure of it, and I wanted to go for it. And definitely, there'll be chances to rectify yourselves at some point of time. So at
I,
that,
absolutely, I agree with you because one of my friend basically, he is a chemical engineer and he's heading the Microsoft. Heading means heading one of the division of Microsoft. And I have another friend who's a computer science. He's working in bank. So leave that portion because I understand that it will happen. But important is whenever you are selecting any criteria, like that was my question, and I think you rightly said in all the way. Whatever you are taken decision, don't just regret it. There are a lot of option, a lot of openings are there, which you have to target and be happy what you selected, and you can improve instead of frustrating yourself. Let it be open
exactly.
for all, and everywhere there is a competition. Let's face it and face the consequences. That's it.
Exactly. That's
Correct.
so.
Thanks
Yeah,
a lot.
that's
Very good opinion, and thanks a lot. Appreciate you all the way you are communicating with us. Okay.
sure, sir. Happy to. No issues.
Please go
Any
ahead.
other questions? Any other questions, guys? We would love to hear. I mean, if you feel some kind of, some tension over here, I mean, I don't know how to be more casual than this. Super candid. Feel free to ask. You want to ask about life in college, things about, anything of that sort. How do you face things? Uh, Feel free to ask, right? I mean, because I want to make the session as interactive as possible. I hope you guys aren't like take it up back. I mean, you're not that old to you, but by few, I mean, technically speaking, you guys might be in around 11th or 12th, if I'm not wrong, right? And we are just in college, so you don't need to worry about that. Just see as your older brother or older sister who's looking at, giving you a helping hand. So again, open to questions.
Yeah, just be free to ask any questions, no matter how dumb you think it is. Because when it comes down to it, no question is dumb. Because these small things matter a lot when you're in your final decision. And yeah, just it's very chilled out. Just ask any question like regarding your, what branch you want to take, your placements, your allotment, anything.
Also, if you have like as Shreyas' father had a question about branches. If you want to know about some branches, again, feel free to ask that as well. We'll be to the best of our knowledge within the scope of our campus, we will try attending to those questions as well.
I got a question.
Okay.
I understand IITs are so amazing, but in comparison with IITs across the world, it is ranked really low, above 200 plus. Why?
Okay.
Okay.
So I think this is one question that boggles the Indian education system as a whole. It's not just you know uh, just for you, but I'll tell you when it comes to ranking, right? One crucial aspect that you need to keep in mind is it's not just how do I put this? It's not just placements that you need to take into mind, right? There are a lot of factors that come into it, right? So, I mean, if you keep up with the news, I really don't want to make a public comment of it. But if you keep up with the news, you will see the various factors that come into such things. I would say, see, even instead of going for a global ranking for specific, in a general aspect, like first and foremost, you need to understand that no IITs and no NITs are universities, right? There's a huge difference over there. When you compare it to a global spectrum, let's take Harvard, MIT, Stanford, all these institutes, right? MIT is one of the powerhouses for engineering studies, right? In the global scale, if you think about it, and even otherwise, right? It's a very huge thing when you take it in a very global perspective. But nevertheless, what you need to really focus on is like, think of this as just an college perspective, right? When a lot of people look into rankings, the huge aspect is this university aspect, right? They have a lot to offer, and more holistically, they'll rank much better. But I can very well tell you that, I mean, if you can really look, most of the professors, right? I would say on a constituency basis, I could say that roughly 60 to 65% of all professors who are teaching abroad are mostly Indians, right? And they are graduates of such big IITs or NITs for that matter, right? And if you think about it, you can just look at big tech companies that are part of uh, you know uh, part of America at this point of time. Let's say Sundar Pichai. Sundar Pichai was first in IIT before he did a MBA in US. So that is something you need to realize. He did I think, if I'm not wrong, he did his undergraduate studies in material science in IIT Kharagpur before he went on to go on join Google, right? And hence on go forth from there. Now, also I would say, let's take the example of Satya Nadella. Satya Nadella again, he's a graduate. He's an electrical engineer from Manipal Institute of Technology, not one of the IITs, and not one of those things. So I would say, if you really when you go for rankings, I would also suggest you guys to look at the alumni of these colleges, right? That's a good. I would say this is something that no world rankings that take in alumni of the college, right? You can't put a metric for that, but I would encourage you folks to go and look at the alumni and the type of people that these universities or these IITs or NITs churn out. And for example, IIT Delhi, Zomato's founders are from IIT Delhi. Like IIT Delhi is one of the biggest powerhouses. India right now is known for a lot of startup unicorns, right? And all of these major powerhouse comes from IIT Delhi, right? There's a lot of information you can find out. So, like, think in that aspect, right? Like, what are the kind of people that these universities bring out, and maybe you too could be one of them in the future. So I would say, don't sort of go for rankings. I mean, rankings is just like, there's a lot of things that influence rankings. And, while many colleges do post about it, it's always essential that you also look into other factors as well, right? So
Exactly. Rankings don't say like I said earlier, rankings don't just justify like the brands part of it and everything of that sort. Also, I think rank is over here mainly because of the education system rather than anything else. So
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
Like rankings are not that reliable. I mean, see, when you consider like world rankings, there are a lot of things like as Sharon said, there are universities, and one of the most important things is the faculty to student ratio, right? The faculty to student ratio in these universities is amazing. Well, I mean, we have an incredible faculty at IITs, and NITs have one of the most talented faculties. I mean, it kind of makes sense. For example, JEE Advanced is one of the hardest. Uh, is one of the most hardest and competitive tests, like compared to SATs and JEE Advanced, there's absolutely no comparison. And that, I think that's where, and then the competition comes into play, and then your the kind of faculty and student ratio. And I think someone raised their hand.
Yeah.
Karthik?
And actually, before that, one other question had come. If you were to choose between MIT or IIT Madras, which will you choose?
okay, who's the one who asked this question? Can you
Mohammed Hassan.
Mohammed Hassan, can you just, I mean, if it's not too much to ask, can you just unmute? I would just like to know, I mean, why are you going to an MIT and why are you going to an IIT Madras? I mean, I just want to know your perspective, on that, Mohammed Hassan. I mean, if you're shy about it, it's cool.
Yes, yes, brother. Like because across the if you search in the internet and all across the world rankings, if I search the top 10 engineering colleges, specifically for engineering colleges across the world, whenever I search, MIT is coming into first place. But as far as me being Indian is concerned, it is like IIT is like one of the most best places like to be in. So like across all the criteria, education wise and everything, like and the placement it's MIT is the only take into account of SAT, right?
Yeah, Hassan, I
Right.
think
Yeah,
I
next
lost.
subject. Yeah.
You're not audible that well. It's breaking up.
Okay, just Hassan, let me, from what I've understood, allow me to just, take the gist of the question. And, if you can put it, that is exactly what you meant. If you can support it, maybe put in a yes in the chat box, so that we can understand that, yes, this is what you meant. So from my understanding, right, Hassan, so you looked into the top 10. Okay, so you're putting this. And my query is starting from next year, there's no SAT 2 exam. In that case, how would it be possible to secure an NIT admission for college students? Okay, sorry, this is a Hariharan, that's different. My bad.
One minute. I'm really excused. So Arsen will be doing another session exclusively for DASA. So during that, I will get full details about DASA. So Sharon, don't finish the information. So we will lack of sessions. Okay, so we have planned couple of sessions only for JEE students.
Okay.
So we'll be exclusively doing one session for DASA. So you can clear his doubts, but not like the entire details. No need to share now. We'll be doing in the next session.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you so much.
So very briefly, I would say that Hassan, so you looked into the top 10 colleges versus MIT versus this thing, right? I would say when I was in grade 11, I was also faced with a similar dilemma, right? I wanted to study abroad, but the differentiating factor for me was that the amount of fees that I have to pay in an MIT versus not particularly, it's not that I was looking for an MIT, but in a foreign education that I would be required to invest in a foreign education versus that in India. This was my differentiating factor. So initially, even though I have written the ACT and everything, right, I can very well assure you, right, that you will have to invest at least 10 times more than what you would be investing in an IIT or an NIT in the whole process, right? So this was my differentiating factor. But certainly, of course, I mean, I'm not anyone to stop you if you have your dreams up high and if you can very well afford it, if you're confident in going for, sure. I mean, it's worth a shot. I mean, my personal philosophy is like, always think big, but start small. So, even then, if you're looking for the tag or something, there's always the option of going for higher studies after your undergraduate studies, right? So there's no issues in that. So definitely you can look forth for that, right? So I hope, Hassan, that answers to your question. While we are getting, I think Karthik raised his hand. Karthik, can you take a question?
There's one more question. In your experience, just how hard is architecture?
Excuse me, we'll give preference to Karthik. He first he has raised his hand.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, this is Karthik's father here.
Oh, okay. Yes, tell us.
Sharon, what are you specializing in? Architecture, is it?
No, sir. I'm an electrical engineering student.
Electrical engineering.
Context, yeah.
And how about Aditi? He's in?
I'm an engineering physics student.
Physics, okay. Now you guys are doing the first year, isn't it?
No, sir. I am in third year.
Okay.
Aditi and Vinay is second year.
See, now because most of the students are doing 11th and 12th year, so over a period of time, when you complete your engineering or when you complete your entrance, what do you suggest for them to, go to which discipline? Because most of them are thinking of taking computer science because they are not aware of the new branches of engineering, the more competitive engineering field in the world. Because they are, they're only confined to computer science and mechanical. Now you're already in the play. You're already completed halfway through the race of your career. In another 2 years, you're being out going for jobs. So what do you say? You might be knowing, because when you complete engineering, there are a lot of engineering graduates in the field and looking for a job, and there'll be more people following you. So what is that advice that you need to give, these aspiring students, to which branch of engineering to focus on other than IT?
Okay. I'd like to answer this.
Yeah, Aditi, I think.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I think this is a very good question, because many people normally, kind of limit themselves to very archaic branches like civil engineering, mechanical, and not aware of the new branches that are coming up. In NIT Calicut, this year, we started material science and engineering. If you're not aware, that's the Sundar Pichai did a master's in material science and engineering, but yeah, to be offered that at a bachelor's level is incredible. IIT Hyderabad, if I'm not wrong, is offering a bachelor's in artificial intelligence, which is a very good branch because as many computer science students today, as I'm seeing second years, third years, are very much into artificial intelligence and going into data science and just pursuing the new thing that's basically artificial intelligence. So yeah, material science, biotechnology. In speaking of research and engineering, these branches have a lot of scope, especially when you want to do your masters in. Typically we want to streamline it more, and it's great if at a bachelor's level you're able to kind of specify what do you want to do, because mostly we have seen civil engineering, electrical, chemical, a lot of people sit for placements in computer science, but that's not always the case. So as the times are changing, we're evolving. So people are going for marketing. Like we have a lot of students who, after their fourth years, they don't sit for placements. They directly after their third year internship or so, they get a PPO or they go for marketing. So I think, yeah, you can open yourself up to new branches. You have material science, biotech, artificial intelligence, and so on.
Yeah, the scope for everything is increasing right now. So
yeah.
Also, just
And
to
one
add
more
on
thing
to
that
that,
yeah.
So sorry to cut you off there, sir. I just wanted to put it out. I know a lot of people might be having questions about which branch, how the ins and outs of so and so branches. We'll be doing a session for that. Don't worry about it. Right? We'll be, to the best of our knowledge, we will make a list of the various branches that are offered across both NITs and IITs, and give you our insights on how the ins and outs of all these branches. Something that I wish I would have got maybe when I was making my branch choice decision, but definitely we'll be putting that forth. But yeah, I mean, I think Aditi has summarized that. Sir, did I cut? I mean,
no, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So essentially, what Aditya said has definitely put it in a very well acquired manner. We'll be expanding on forth. We'll give our solid advices. Right. I mean, we are running short of time as well, so we'll be also giving our solid advices at that point of time. So don't need to worry about that.
I got one question, which is, I heard hostel food is super bad. Is that the case?
Sorry.
I heard hostel food is super bad.
Okay. So now, personally speaking, in our college, based Calicut is known as for the it's a very especially in Kerala, it's known as you'll find a lot of foodies in that place. So personally, for me, I haven't faced a lot of issues. Surprisingly, I don't know. I mean, Vinay, Aditi,
I mean, I prefer food from like the Kozhikode, like, and our place is Kozhikode, so I prefer food from the city and all, but mess food isn't bad or anything. The hostel food, I feel.
Yeah, it's much better.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for hostels, you need to, it is a typical, okay, do we have a question or something?
No, dear students, if you have any doubt related to JOSSA, especially JOSSA, please raise your hand or please put in the chat box, because we'll be doing like 3 to 4 sessions for streams. I mean the campus, NIT campus, how's the NIT campus, so like various topics we'll be discussing. So if you have any specific question related to JOSSA or any like the application process or documents or payment system, anything, please raise your hand and put in the chat box. Rest of the question we'll be taking in the another session. Like don't worry, we will cover all your doubts, and most probably we'll be doing 4 to 5 session with the NIT Calicut team. Okay.
I think Shreyas has raised his hands again, or to me.
Yeah, so I'm Shreyas. I'm studying in 11th. So now it's a basic question, like now how to prepare for these JEE exams. So like what are your methods to how you guys studied for JEE?
Yeah, okay. I'll take it. Yeah. So basically, I focus mainly on like right now chemistry is one subject which can easily be scored technically, because like it's mainly full by hearting and a way of remembering like various, for example, all these inorganic chemistry formulas and all, just put some, I put some rhyme and remembered it like that. So chemistry, the questions are very direct for JEE mains and JEE advanced actually. So that is where you can score the most, I feel. So over there, if you focus, then or you can get a pretty good rank. Then there's like maths and physics. For me, I was better in maths, so I focused more on that. Physics wasn't my strong subject, so for me, I thought that I'll just focus more on the subject which I know well, so that I can like get better marks in the two subjects. Now chemistry is there and maths, so with that you can get a better rank. So that was my study plan. So I used like Cengage books and all, if that's a reference books. Reference books are many, so it's your wish. You can find those online. And all.
You need to focus on, preparing for JEE mains is very different from preparing for JEE advanced. They're like two very different approaches. If you are preparing, if you're preparing for JEE advanced specifically, you need to make sure it is way more harder than JEE mains, to be honest, because JEE mains is, it depends more on your speed. Because if you divide the time and all, you have around 30 to 45 seconds per question, and you try to, it's way easier technically. But JEE advanced is way more harder. It is way more comprehensive. For instance, if you're preparing for JEE mains for math, and my strong points are math, physics, and physical chemistry. I never got organic, so I left organic for my JEE mains because I tried to focus on my strong points and to score maximum with the minimum amount of error. Now in these, because JEE mains depends on your speed, right? It focuses a lot on your speed, and you have a higher margin of error because you try to answer questions in a hurry. So I think that's the thing you need to. I used for physics, I used H.C. Verma and my NCERT books. For maths, I again used NCERT and Cengage. And so if you're preparing for JEE mains in advance, just have a very you'll have a very different approach to both the things. JEE advanced is much harder. You'll have to go into depth. You'll have to understand the topic really well, and the questions will be way more,
It'll be more concept based. You can JEE mains is like formulas and all, so you can directly apply. But the other one,
you can get through JEE mains. You can do your formulas well. You can do your derivations. You can keep solving a lot of question papers. Previous year's questions. I think the last 2 months, what I did for my first JEE is the last 2 months I was done with the portion. You do your revision and you do previous year's questions because they get repeated a lot in your JEE main and advanced. So
and time yourself also so that you can know how much time you'll take. You need to finish within 3 hours. Right?
You need to give yourself you give those sample tests. Keep giving your sample tests because it's very different when you're actually giving the paper. You get very nervous and just a very daunting situation. Just keep putting yourself in that exam.
There's so many previous year papers, so you can do one per day and then revise the rest of the day based on those.
Fine.
So like that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Amin sir, this is for you, Amin sir. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, sir. I'm good, sir.
This is Shreyas for the fantastic the way you are conducting. Basically, all the children and everybody is so valuable information we are gathering. So I think I know we have everybody, even myself also, sometimes going diverting to another topics. Our agenda is I can imagine the way you are trying to convey us. Agenda is going here and there, but I will request you to this NITs, IITs, and all those students, maybe whatever not many students come across, and we should have 1.5 hour session just to understand how they prepare themselves.
We'll do that, sir. We'll take into the consideration, sir.
And that how they prepare themselves is nothing but the guidance to our children of unique.
Definitely, sir. We'll do that, sir.
Okay, fine. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Abhi, sir.
So any students, any other question? Because we are crossed 1.5 hours, and the senior students, Sharon, Vinay, and Aditi, they have classes or some assignments, so they are pretty busy with their school. The university works, NIT works. So if you have any doubts, please raise your hand, or else we'll wind up the session. I think we have cleared everything. Okay, so thank you so much, Vinay, Sharon, and Aditi. So
Sir,
we'll give
sir, one last question, just last. Sorry for that once again.
yeah.
How do you a lot of people, a lot of students, they are preferring not to study. Very sorry, I don't know whether the question is valid or not. Not try to study or after 12 in India. Why not in UAE? Why not Wits Pilani?
Sir,
okay,
we don't have the I don't want to demotivate or spread some negativity about the campus, but in one sentence we can say the quality is far better in India.
Absolutely, I agree. We are not here to debate or here to argument. The fact is fact. Let's accept the fact. I agree with you.
Exactly, because back in India, it's that you have entrance, here no entrance, so it's clear.
Sir, sir, if you mind, coming from my
please
perspective,
share
can I just, again, to Shreyas's father, so as I mentioned, I was a student at our own English Boys Branch, Sharjah, and I have a lot of friends who study in BITS Dubai campus, Manipal, and Amity. All these are colleges that are there in India as well as in Dubai. Now, sir, how do I put this? First and foremost, in terms of investment of money, those are two different aspects. Like one thing that I'm really happy about in the process of my undergraduate education is per year I'm spending at maximum, let's say, even with my hostel fees and everything. If I am very luxurious with my hostel fees, hostel expenses and everything, I would be spending at most to 2 lakh rupees, right? That's just me. But yeah, in terms of fees, 1.25 lakhs is what roughly you could say that comes into an NIT. Now you compare that with the BITS and Manipal and all.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, the mic is on.
Sharon, you please carry on.
Yeah, so that is just one aspect of it. Now, from my aspect, another aspect is when I've seen when I come back to Dubai and meet my friends over there, the level of, I've been to BITS campus and everything, in terms of infrastructure, possibly because they are very relatively new campuses, possibly they might be a little on the better side when compared to NIT. But I can very well assure you that in terms of the quality, having seen both ends, right, in both of people, right, see, because when you are in an NIT, right, it's a whole different environment, and you're filled with your entire ecosystem is surrounded by people who have studied really hard and who are really smart and have made it there. So being in that group of people versus that of let's say in BITS or Manipal, wherein if you can get in a seat with just money or that thing, I would say that it might, again, there are instances, by no means, BITS campuses by any means, but this is my observations, my influences on how I feel like, when I compare my friends, I feel like I've been able to, like, if after 12th, if my friends and my levels were like, at par, with the 3 years of college that I have completed and the 3 years of college that they are completing, not completed, like even when if we look at ourselves now, I feel that I've grown personally much, at least 10 times higher when compared to that of my peers who are chosen to study in
It's
Dubai.
a true feedback actually, which I can think about. Is it true? Okay, all our students are here, right? Sir, all our students here, right? How many students are here in IIT currently? Those who are guiding us.
So we have around 4 to 5 students are there.
Great. So how many of you is looking for a business, or you make the jobs, or you want to make you want to create a job, or basically you want to become employee? How many of you?
So on my personal note, I would say that I'm more towards, I have an entrepreneurial inclination. So definitely in the future, at least, if not immediately, I would definitely go and, hopefully employ quite a people and create jobs rather than being employed. But
Well,
that's just my perspective.
because I know you cannot answer it straightforward, but just I'm thinking. I want to understand the thinking point of view from NIT. This thing like you want to create jobs, or you want to become an entrepreneur, or you want to become this thing. Just a small like. Of course, you can. This
Yeah,
particular
definitely. I would say that, especially, I would say, especially right now, there's a lot of students who like to, engage in startup culture. These are something that are very hot topics right now. People like to engage in creating startups and everything. So definitely, I would say that a lot of people have that kind of inclination. Because they can find the peer group and the right network to build and expand and create such companies.
what about others' opinion? What about Vinay?
Yeah, I also have the interest to start a startup. So like
Great.
in my case, my parents started their startup. So since I'm seeing that every day, I have the same feeling. So I also want to start a startup like that.
That's perfect. Okay, just a small question. So, Amin sir, now the next round of people will be surely they will be all entrepreneur. Hopefully.
Let's hope for the best, sir. Let's wish for the future.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot from my side. Yeah, thank you.
So,
Thank you
guys,
all. Yeah, thank you all. Excuse me. If you allow me, I just raised my question in a chat box. Can you please try to answer this?
Which school?
I don't know if
NEET preparation.
Okay, about institutes coaching. One minute, sir. I have questions about institute coaching. Engineering students with NEET preparation how would be effective to face the examination? I think Vinay.
Aditi.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're preparing for NEET, chemistry is mostly NEET students struggle with math and physics. When they're giving JEE, they normally struggle with math and physics because their strong points are biology. But I think you'll have to work a bit harder for that. And I think there is you'll be taking a class especially for NEET students giving JEE. So I think it'll be covered in that session. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, my basic question is, the question pattern would be different for NEET and JEE, right? So how they can club together and conduct the classes and all, they should be prepared according to the question pattern. Maybe concept they could understand. Even the concept also it would be different. If I'm right.
Because definitely if you can, having such things, right? Coaching institutes definitely will be able to gear towards such situations. So, sir, if you can just comment on, how unique world.
Definitely, sir, that the content is 95% is same, but the questions are totally different, as you said. So we'll be doing a lot of questions for the JEE aspirants who are in the current grades.
I feel like a lot of it comes to how I would say don't put your leg on many boats, right? It's nice to keep yourself safe, but when you're going for something, keep it safe, right? Focus on one thing. I hope that answers your question, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much, the student as well as parents, for spending your valuable time with us. And we have two more private questions. So Vinay.
Okay, yeah. One question was, can you summarize JOSSA to one sentence? Okay, like just like a portal made by the government for the registration for IITs and NITs. That is how I can summarize it.
Yeah, it just sorts you into colleges. That's it. It sorts you into different colleges. Whichever.
Then one more question is, what about BITS Pilani or Goa versus NITs in general?
Again, as I mentioned, I think it was addressed. It all comes down to personal views. I really cannot put a specific metric. You have to do your own research for
Yeah.
that, I mean, we cannot really guide you on which is better over the other. I mean,
That
definitely,
you'll find online. Yeah.
the
About-
score will have its better parts, and any other NIT would have its better parts. So definitely, I mean, if you were to deal with all such possible scenarios, I don't think the session will get over. So I would encourage all of you to look into that. I mean, never worries. I mean, no worries. If you have any questions, right? I mean, I would encourage, right, following up. I know a lot of questions might be coming up in your minds right now. I would encourage all of you to maybe put it with Amin sir, and he maybe can he can have it message that to us, or maybe communicate it to us. We'll address it either in the next session or over text. We will have it all of it addressed. Amin sir, does that sound good?
Exactly, fine. Exactly, we'll do that. And Shivpriya, there is no update regarding about the JEE exam on January, and we hope the JEE will be happening on either February or March, because last time the JEE application date was on September 3rd, 2019. So now September is over, October, and we are in November. So we are hoping the exam would be postponing to other months. So once we have received any update, we will definitely share with all of the students. And your students as well as parents, thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us. And special thanks to our young team, Vinay, Sharon, Aditi, Ashwin, and all other NIT students. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to be on board. Wonderful session. I'm really happy. I wish I could have attended more questions, but due to constraints, I'm not able to do so.
Definitely, upcoming
The next sessions
we can we can raise and we can solve all the doubts.
Definitely.
Yeah.